Welcome to the Leadership Unveiled podcast series by the HR Association of India. The series explores the minds and journeys of the pioneering leaders, entrepreneurs making waves in the business world. I'm your host, Neha Jagnani, and today we have a truly special guest, a visionary leader, a trailblazer in their industry, and someone whose story is as insightful as it is inspiring. Join us in welcoming Shweta Mohanty. Shweta is the Vice President HR for SAP in India, bringing over 22 years of HR expertise. She spearheads HR leadership for all SAP entities across India, including R&D, sales, and service organizations. She has led a lot of transformational initiatives such as Entrepreneurial Sabbatical Policy, Girl Power Tech programs, which showcases her dedication to fostering a thriving and inclusive work environment. With a master's degree in business from Symbiosis Center of Management in HRD and a bachelor's degree in science, Shweta's journey is defined by exceptional leadership and a commitment to driving a positive change in the workplace. In her recent accomplishments, she was recognized as one among the top 10 HR leaders in tech. Outside of the office, she enjoys catching up on nonfiction books, watching movies, and cooking for her two young daughters. Shweta, thank you so much for joining us today. How do you feel about this?
Thank you so much, Neha. It's an absolute pleasure to be talking to you. And while you were reading my introduction, it did feel very humbling, to be very honest. When somebody reads your introduction, you realize that it's been a journey, and a lot of positives is being highlighted. But like any journey, there have been ups and downs, wins and failures, moments of accomplishments, but also moments of despair and disappointments. While you were reading it, literally my 20 plus years of career was running in front of my eyes. So yeah, it's really interesting to talk about all that, and I look forward to having this conversation with you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Shweta. So to kick things off, could you share a bit about what exactly led you to pursue a career in human resources?
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I'll be very honest with you. It was not that this was my ambition. In my teens, and I always wanted to be an HR professional. To be very honest, it was an elimination effort. When I got into my MBA, and there were choices in front of me whether I should pick up finance, sales or marketing, or human resources. I clearly felt that I do not have a flair for numbers. Little did I know that a lot about my work today is number crunching, but that's a topic of another discussion. I also felt that sales and marketing is a lot about sales in the beginning of the career, and I am not a very extrovert by nature, so I thought I won't be very successful. So it was an elimination that I thought human resources is something that I should pick it up. But I truly found my home, in the HR profession. It is not about just getting along with people. It is about, how do you, manage talent? How do you make sure that, the business priorities are met, through the people? And that's why a lot of my work is in the intersection of business and people. And that is something which I truly believe was my sweet spot. And I'm so glad I made that choice of doing my MBA in human resources and starting my career in that. And it is certainly something which was a good decision in my mind.
Absolutely, that's very intriguing, Shweta. Thank you so much. So Shweta, now as you look back on your career journey, if you have to pinpoint at some of the most significant moments or experiences that have sort of shaped you as a leader that you are today in HR, what would those be?
Yeah, I think if one looks at my whole career, Neha, some of the most inflection points have been where I have moved out of my comfort zone and done something, which was a very steep learning curve, which helped me to conquer my own failures and, my own limitations. And if I have to really call out, there are so many of them, when I first moved, out of HR, out of Wipro, which was my first organization, to Microsoft Research, it was a completely different talent group that you're working with. These were high achievers, PhDs, maybe the top 5 or 10 people in the world on their expertise. And here I was talking to them about, development and, HR. So it was something which was very difficult, extremely challenging. When I moved into an M&A space and, moved briefly out of HR to be in a business role, that was also an extremely challenging situation. Um, and, I just felt that I had to get onto that and learn from scratch. Um, when Microsoft and Yahoo Search Alliance was announced, and we, as a part of it, we had a big set of people who would be joining, who would have joined from Yahoo to Microsoft. In it itself, it was a very challenging M&A situation. But on top of it, we had to literally set up an office. Microsoft India Development Center was not present in Bangalore. So we were loaned and leased a small floor in one of the other Microsoft offices. We searched for a new office. We designed the new office. We set up the processes of how things are going to work. It felt like a startup inside, a large organization. But I've done everything. I've got my hands dirty. I have sat into government offices and signed, house and lease agreements. I have got into design conversations and got into how the office space will look like, which are the collaboration spaces we design. I have looked at how to identify leadership qualities for the new entity that we are setting up. And, each of these were great learning moments, right? And my message to all the youngsters today is that don't look at your job description to see how you can contribute to the organization. Every opportunity is a learning opportunity, and that is what that experience really taught me. Again, the whole pandemic situation, and in spite of the pandemic going on, our ability to get the people together, I drove some wonderful programs around it. You mentioned about the Entrepreneurial Sabbatical, which is still to date probably we are the only organization who has something like this, where we are giving a sabbatical for people to go and pursue their entrepreneurial dreams. So an extremely, a fresh perspective of things, in an organization which had not really seen those kind of initiatives, and itself could be a great challenge. So I think, the running thread in my entire career, Neha, is to challenge the status quo. It gives me great pride and satisfaction, when I see, we going against the grain, against the expectation, believing in an employee experience that is truly futuristic. Those are some of the things that gives me great pride, and when I look at my journey, I'm really proud of those decisions and those experiences, which make me the leader that I am today.
Absolutely. That's very intriguing, Shweta, especially for others to have sort of a learning mindset in whatever job that there is to do for them. It's very important. Thank you. So my next question, Shweta, is are there any individuals or mentors that you have had, either in HR or outside of the field of HR, who have sort of influenced you and your professional journey? And if you would like to share some of the learnings that you would have gained from them for our listeners.
Yeah, I have been very fortunate, Neha, to get a set of some incredible mentors and leaders who have shaped not only my career, but my thinking, on how I look at circumstances today. And what I have realized is that over a period of time, that there is not one individual, right? There are a set of individuals, and I go to these mentors and leaders for different things. There are, for example, one of my earliest, supervisors and managers, I really learned from him, that it is not necessary to beat yourself up for the weaknesses that you have. Because early career, everybody is trying to make up for the areas which you are not good at. I learned from him that build your strength. Because when you build on your strength, people forget about, the areas that you're not good at. From another leader early in my people leadership journey, I learned that it's always great to have a set of super achiever team, but at the same time, team which has complementary skills. So if I am somebody who's not great on details, I should really have a team member who's great at details. And together you can conquer anything that comes your way. So that was again a great learning. One of my leaders in Microsoft really taught me the value of discipline and the value of generosity. He's one of the most generous leaders that I have worked, with, generous with his time, generous with, in kind of grooming people, ability to spot talent and then amplify, their talent. I really learned from him, and I hope I do the same thing for my teams today. So that's something which I learned. I have been incredibly fortunate to have a great set of business leaders who are my mentors. So one of the business leader I really look up to amongst many of them. I think the whole session will only run if I take all the names, but he was one of the leaders that I supported, before I moved into this, this role as a part of my global charter. And from him, I learned the strength of being an expert in your in your job, and the kind of effort you put to be good at it. And he is the one who taught me that if you are damn good at what you do, people will, who are your naysayers, people who are who don't probably start respecting you, will ultimately have to respect you, because they will come to you for your expertise, for the hard work that you are putting in. And I'm incredibly grateful to him that he till today guides me. When I'm in crossroads, I just need to reach out to him with a phone call, and he offers me some great insights and a different perspective around it. So there have been a long list of people, Neha, that I have to thank, for shaping the kind of person, the kind of leader that I am today. And that's why I always encourage anybody around, to have a good set of mentors. But one of the things that you should always remember is that great mentoring relationships are not the ones where it is only a one-way street, where you are the one who is getting, extracting their, their leadership values, their insights, their expertise. There is always value in giving back. And, that those are the most enriching mentorship relationship, where you are learning from them, but you also have something to offer to them, right? And I'm grateful that I have, a set of great leaders with whom I have that kind of a relationship.
Absolutely. Very refreshing, Shweta, the learnings that you shared. It's a blessing to actually have such mentors in life. Thank you so much. My next question, Shweta, is I read that you enjoy reading nonfiction books and, watching movies and, as I said earlier, cooking for your daughters. So I want to know, how do these interests contribute to your personal growth and well-being? And if you have any recommendations of books or movies that have sort of left a lasting impact on you, it'll be great to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I have a little bit of a challenge, Neha. I cannot read fiction, and the reason behind it is that I'm a very visual person by nature. So anything that I'm reading or watching, it has to relate to me. It has to connect to me. So if you give me, for example, a thick book on AI, and it is theory, and it is everything that that one has to kind of put your wild imagination to put that together, I will struggle with those, to finish those books. And that's why I like nonfiction, because these are, for example, autobiographies is something which I absolutely love, because this is somebody's journey, a life that has been lived, a learning, an experience that they're willing to share. And there's so many nuggets that you can take, so many things that applies to your life, right? So I read a lot of autobiographies. For example, I'm not sure if you have read Will Smith's autobiography, Will. That's the latest, read that I have had. Incredible, story, and so many things that you can take back. And then, if you look at Michelle Obama's Becoming, if you look at Indra Nui's, Life is Full, there are so many of these books who offer you insights about, people who have really had a fulfilling, enriching life, right? Whether it is in a professional sphere, whether it is a personal sphere, whether it is in their journey to spirituality or, learning different things. Um, the one which I'm looking forward to read and has been in my, kind of list, bucket list for a long time is Green Light by Matthew McConaughey. I think that's an incredible book as well. I look forward to read that. So those are the kind of books which inspire me.
Right.
Because I can visualize their journey. I can relate to that. There's things that I can, take back. And, though my life is, and my time is really demanding, I try to see if I can find a little bit of a time for, for catching up to those books. Movies, I'm a big movie buff. I'm a die-hard Shah Rukh Khan fan. Um, I just, I just adore him as a person, not so much as an actor, but as a person, that he is. But I'll be very honest, Neha, that I haven't been able to catch up with a lot of movies in the last couple of years. So won't be able to recommend anything specifically around that. And then, I have two daughters. And one of my kind of desires has been that when they grow up, they should have a core memory of, how their mother has impacted their life. For somebody, it could be reading a bedtime story. For somebody, it could be having a game of Scrabble or playing or going hiking. For me, it is cooking for them, right? So weekends are usually their wish list on what they want mom to make. And they are extremely generous children, because whatever crap that I cook, they still praise me. So, it is, I do want them, one core memory that I want them to have about their childhood is that their mother used to cook for them. So I bake for them, I cook for them, whatever they like, their desires are, at least, when it comes to meals, are fulfilled over the weekend. But, that is the way you connect, you're a very demanding professional life with your personal life. And, those are the ways you figure out and take out time for things that truly matter, whether it is reading a book, watching a movie, or spending time with your family.
Wonderful, wonderful, Shweta. That's wonderful to hear. Shweta, this brings us to the last question of today's session, which is, what advice would you like to give to the aspiring HR professionals who are, looking forward to making a meaningful impact and driving change in their respective organizations?
Yeah, I would really ask two advice that I have. One, I think I already covered. Don't look at what your job description really says. It's extremely important for HR professionals to have a great insights about the business that they are supporting, but overall their organization. So the test for that is that if you are in an elevator with a business leader or your CEO, are you in a 5 minutes being able to explain in simple layman terms on what your business does, right? And, who are the customers? What is the revenue that they are, you're generating? What are the challenges that they have? What's your product strategy? I think every HR professional should really get into at least the basics of, these aspects. It's extremely handy. It's extremely important, for them to do that. And the other thing, like I mentioned, is be bold. I think, we just have in SAP, we have a new CHRO, and she, in her first, podcast that she did with the HR team, she mentioned that HR professionals have to be partners to the business and really not, treat, the business leaders as their customers, because we always use that a business is your customer, you need to serve them. I think the moment we get into a servile attitude, we will see our function as lesser than what other functions are. I think the people function or the HR function has an equal stake and an equal place on the table. And if you have to project it, you have to be bold. You have to really call out things, make sure that you are inclusive, call out behaviors, whether it is leadership or elsewhere, which are not aligning to your values. Make sure that the decisions that are taken are the right decisions. And like I mentioned, the sky is the limit. I think I would also want to mention, Neha, that this is one of the best periods, to be an HR professional, because I think what pandemic really did is it changed, the template for HR professionals, and what is going to happen in the function for the next 20 years will get defined in the next 5 years. So HR professionals have a huge role to redefine, how the people function has contribution can be, can be taken in an organization context, right? So that is something which I certainly feel, and my advice would be for all budding HR professionals, but also some of the young professionals who are there amidst us today.
Sure. Thank you so much, Shweta, for some great insights. I'm sure our listeners, viewers are going to greatly benefit from it. So thank you so much for joining us today. It was an absolute pleasure speaking to you and listening to your insights.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. To all the listeners who are watching this podcast, if you enjoyed today's conversation, do not forget to subscribe and leave a review. Until we meet next time, stay innovative and keep inspiring.